Yeah, actually, it's 2G. That's what is happening.
Okay. So I was saying
You
that,
please continue. You please continue.
okay, so what I was saying is, and is that, COVID as an opportunity to be exploited to meet our future challenges. We might be wearing these masks on our nose and on our mouths, but then we have to take these masks off our eyes to see where actually, globe is heading.
Doctor Saab, please open your video also. You are not visible to us. Only voice is coming. Okay, fair now. Fair enough.
Okay, so I have
Please
now
continue.
switched. I have now
Please continue.
switched to other device. So
Okay,
I'm
please.
saying that we need to now gear up to face these new challenges, and one of these is that, mask as a symbol for the whole pandemic. How this mask has to be now taken off from our eyes, if not our nose and our mouth, to see actually where we are heading institutionally, where we are heading academically. That challenge has to be, one of the highest recommendations, by the way, of this new national policy in education. It says that we need to make our students as global citizens. If you look at the concrete parameters, the concrete guidelines, and the framework that it has set, it clearly looks forward in that direction. Now, this COVID and the institutional learning and online learning mode is another way of actually linking with this, global consciousness, global citizenship, global academic citizenship, if you may like, because we can't remain behind. We already have lagged in different spheres, and now is the time to utilize. There is one scholar who actually says that society has now undergone a change, and there is this total pedagogization that has happened. You learn now everywhere. It is not just the classroom. You are inside your kitchen, you are inside your bedroom, you are inside your office sitting. You open your phone and you can access Harvard lectures, you can access Cambridge, Oxford lectures, provided you have the motivation to do. Now, motivation is important. How do you create and sustain that motivation in students while you are away from them, not in physical proximity to those students? So I think these were some of the ideas that I wanted to share with you. And the bottom line is that we do have challenges, and it is a Herculean task to actually go ahead with online learning in the kind of circumstances that we have right now. But then we cannot sit back and make it an excuse that nothing can be done. As I was saying just now, I don't know if you heard me. When lockdown started, university, there were some murmurs about online learning. I know some teachers who had started right there in March. They started on the moment they felt that this is going to happen, and 2 weeks have passed. They started online learning. They got in touch with students. Initially, the attendance was poor, but then gradually the attendance picked up, because that that brings you another thing. That is, the some pressure is important in academics. Some compulsion is important in academics. You cannot just rid yourself of this factor. Maybe corporeal punishment is not okay, but then you have to build up some psychological positive pressure on students to meet these deadlines. And we saw that happening in the university, that initially the attendance was extremely poor. Hardly anyone bothered. They were using hyperlinks while the audio video was on. But as soon as examination news came up, the attendance started growing. They stopped all other kinds of work while they were engaged in these online lectures. So that did happen, and it is possible to reap whatever benefit we can from this. And in future, hopefully, once COVID gives us a break, we can boost our digital infrastructure and use those resources to fully be prepared for future pandemics like that of COVID. So I thank you again, UNICEF, for giving me this opportunity, and your entire team for bringing us all together, assembling us here virtually. By the way, the word virtually and literally, previously we used to say when something had to be stressed, emphasized, and to bring in some element of honesty inside, we will say literally speaking. Now we have to
True,
get used to virtually speaking, and virtually might change its meaning now
true,
in the new context.
true,
Literally
true,
might be virtually, and virtually might be
true,
literally. So
true, true.
anyway, thank you again for allowing me to speak on this issue, and thank you other people also, Afroza from a far off place, for sharing his views, the international dimension of this problem, and other people as well. Thank you, and hopefully see you sometime in the future in physically without a mask. Thank you very much.
So fascinating, Dr. Saab. It was nice to have you. Really, the great words you talk about. I hope definitely it would be appreciated by all our participants. Thank you so much instead of your busy schedule and on a short notes you make yourself available. We are very thankful to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would request now our another speaker, Dr. Bilal, who has done his PhD from IIT Kharagpur. He is faculty in Higher Education Department, teaching in Department of English, Women's College, Antanag. Now, I request Dr. Bilal to continue his the proceedings of the webinar. Please, Bilal, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
you are audible, absolutely audible. You continue.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And at the outset, I would like to thank you, particularly the principal of your college, Professor A.R. Najjar Saab, for having organized this, and the organizing team also, the advisory team headed by Professor Yunus Sahab. And thank you for inviting us. I would also like to thank Professor Parvez Talat Sahab, Honorable Commissioner Secretary to Higher Education. And also in absentia, I'd like to thank Professor Yasmin Ashrai and the speakers on the occasion, particularly Dr. Afroz Sahab from University of Brunei, Darussalam, and Dr. Javed Iqbal. I would begin with some inputs that I got even from this meeting, organizing this webinar. I know it has not been easy for any one of us working in the colleges, particularly in the Kashmir colleges, to organize these webinars. We have faced problems, and the problems are multifaceted. Say, for example, it was difficult for us to get connected to Dr. Afroz initially, and then finally with some technical clinches, we got through it. But it hints at a very important aspect of our preparedness. How, as Javed Saab also pointed out, that how prepared actually we were for this shift. I will be specifically talking to you from a position which is grounded in Kashmir colleges because I'm working here. My examples will draw from my experience as an assistant professor in the higher education department of the Valley. And my focus will be what higher education institutes particularly should learn from COVID. Rather than how we deal with COVID, we should also know what we can learn from this COVID experience. Because if we know what we learn from this COVID experience, we will be making the education better for all times to come. In fact, we will be facing these challenges in future also, but we'll be hopefully ready for all those challenges if we learn. For learning anything, we first need to understand the challenges that COVID has triggered in higher education system of our country. And what are the approaches particularly that we have been taken, and how we have been able to respond to those challenges and problems that we have faced. And what are finally the takeaways, the takeaway terms, or we call the lessons that we should learn actually from COVID experience, so that we are, as I said, we are able to respond to the future challenges in a much better and prepared manner. Now, if we look at coronavirus, I mean, it spread, as Afroz also pointed out, there is one positive point in that. Coronavirus disease, or COVID-19 as we call it now, it was first reported in the Chinese city of Wuhan sometimes in December last year. And within a very short period of time, I mean, by the end of March, the world was completely locked down. So within just 3 months, the whole world was locked down, completely locked down, because the rate at which it spread and its heightened vulnerability, particularly among the people who are aged and low and have low immune system, it caused great threat to the world population. And one of the immediate responses from the world was the complete lockdown. Now, because the world is interconnected and we live in a world of interconnectedness, and this coronavirus actually uh, put us that oneness was emphasized in the whole world, particularly with this pandemic. It was not previously. I don't even if we look at the history, I don't find any example of such uh, magnanimous magnitude where the whole world was locked down because of a single pandemic. So what Afroz said, that oneness in this is very important, and it's encouraging also because it allows us to think as one. We need to respond to this virus and the threats that it poses as a single human being. Now, what has happened, because we'll not be talking about all other challenges or all other responses, we'll be talking about the responses from education point of view. How, as educationists, we have been able to respond to the challenges that COVID has posed to us. So, because education becomes the first casualty of any emergency in the world, be it a natural calamity, an earthquake, or we are, as Javed Sahab rightly pointed out, in Kashmir, we are used to it. It's not the coronavirus alone, but we have been living with this lockdown for last many decades now. But, and I think we should have been very much prepared, because we have been used to these lockdowns, but we were not. Maybe economically or back home we are prepared, but at the official level, at the level of education, we have not been well prepared. And the immediate response, immediate response that came from many educational institutes, particularly Delhi University, I think, and Delhi University and JNU started it. Online classes was the only mode that we could think of, and we switched to online classes from the traditional physical classroom space. We went to the virtual online space. But as the shift was abrupt and it was certain, as I said, there was no preparedness. We were not completely prepared for this shift. And so it was in complete disarray. There was no methodological or systematic manner in which we would move, but it was complete, you can say, a chaos of sorts. Some teachers started on WhatsApp, some started on Instagram, some went live on Facebook, some used Google Meet, and others used Zoom meetings and all. But there was no systematic manner. Now, this sudden shift, in fact, and how our initial response has actually posed certain very important questions. And those questions need an answer for us to be ready for any emergency that we are going to face, or how. In fact, we are not done with COVID yet. We are in the process of facing this and getting used to a new system that we have installed in place, and which may or may not work as we want. This sudden shift has exposed, as I said, the certain lacunas in particularly our education system. And as I said, I'll be taking examples from the college level. And one of the very important things that I have noted is the unpreparedness, as I said. We don't have an alternate business a plan in place. In emergency, how do we respond? I think this is not for the first time that we are witnessing an emergency of this sort. For example, yes, the magnitude this time is high, it's world over, but in Kashmir we are under lockdown from last August. And before that, into 2014, I think, floods, we know that even disruption occurred that time also for nearly 6 months. There was no educational activity. Now, all this suggests that we have not been able to actually get certain lessons from our past experiences, because we should have a ready-made plan in every college so that we respond immediately. That team in every college, the first thing that we should do is put in place an emergency management team. That's one. And second, an alternate business running model. So once an contingency occurs, we should immediately switch to that. That team should exactly know what they are going to do and how they are going to manage this. Now, to manage this, we can use in fact, two models. One is the online model that we are all using, but I think online model, as other participants also pointed out, has its own limitations. We are not, Javed Saab rightly said that even teachers got a zero in the use of technology, how well versed they were in the use of technology. And as I said, that even now we have problems conducting meetings, we have problems connecting with speakers from around the world. It signifies how badly we need a technological revolution, even at the administration level. Forget about students. In fact, I'll give you some examples of the students, in fact, because we are conducting online examinations now in colleges. And I have, I get calls from students because when students register for online examination, they're asked certain details. For example, one of the very important detail is their email ID. They need to have a unique email ID to register with us. Because in the online world, this is the only kind of identity or the ID that the student carries. And I get calls from students saying that, sir, if we ask them, do you have a Gmail account? They say, no, we don't have a Gmail account, but yes, we have a bank account. So there's, for a student, for example, there is no difference between a bank account and a Gmail account. That's one level of unpreparedness. It's not that a student is to be blamed. No, we are to be blamed. This is not for the first time that technology is introduced in our country, but we have not been, we all boast of having a larger infrastructure, IT infrastructure in place in every college. We boast of having IT-enabled classrooms, but we don't use them. Our students don't know how to use them. I acknowledge that there is a technological divide between those who have and those who have not. As Afroz already said, that divide can be bridged. We can give devices to students, but we simultaneously need them to learn how to use these devices. We have not been able to actually equip our students in the best possible manner so that they can use the existing devices at least. Every household in Kashmir has a device, at least one. And every household, I think, now has, Yasmin ji pointed out that 43% of the people in urban use a stable internet connection like broadband, etc. But even then, are 43% of my students able to use these devices properly? That's the biggest question that stares in our face. And when we get back to offline teaching, this is the first thing that we should address. We should equip our students with proper tools so that they can use technology properly. That's one thing. The second thing is, we need student management systems. In every college, we need student management system. The first thing, in fact, the level of preparedness, as I said, was not there. We were not prepared to have our students in online classes because we were unable initially to contact our students. All we had were random Google groups. You can say Google classes. We don't know whether we had verified students or not. We have students even who are joining Google classes from across colleges. So that verified student data management system is to be put in place so that we know exactly, and this is, I think, this is a task that admission committees of the colleges should take immediately. The admission process, the admission process in the colleges should take every possible detail, and if it's possible, I think it's possible because any college that has a verified e-Earnet website can enter into a memorandum with Google, who provides access to their services as educational suite, which are currently free. And I think it's able for us, if we work a little bit, to provide email IDs to every student, unique email IDs to every student when they enter the colleges. Once that happens, we'll be able to connect our students anytime we want, because we will have at least the details to connect with the students. And also we need learning management systems in place in all colleges. We have used, as I said, that we have used Google Meets, we have used Zoom meetings. Zoom has its own limitations. Google also has its own limitations in terms of the number of participants who can actually take part in the meeting, and the amount of time that we can spend. For example, Zoom has 40 minutes and all. But if we have customized learning management softwares in place in every colleges, then these constraints, I don't think we would have these, particularly in humanities where we have large classrooms. We have hundreds and thousands of students taking one subject, and it's difficult then to actually get them into one meeting hall and share with them. Other thing I think we can learn is this is also one of the components of the level of preparedness, or the emergency management, or the alternate business management plan that we should be focusing on, is when we get back to class. I hope we get back soon. When we get back to the actual learning, we should record actual learning lecture. We should record teachers delivering actual lectures and students participating also. This simulation can actually be later used when emergencies occur. These are the lectures that we can use actually, because at least that connectedness that Dr. Javed Sahab also talked about can be reduced to a certain extent, if not more. And we can also use this in lab run courses, where if a teacher is doing, a student is doing experiments, we can record those actual experiments and then upload that video to our student management system or the learning management software, and then share with our students. Also, as Talat Parvez Sahab also particularly stressed, that we should now make it a norm that 50 or 60% of the syllabus is necessarily covered online. I mean, even if we get back to offline teaching now, we should make it a norm so that everyone understands that it's very important. As a teacher, I should learn now. I should not stop to learn the uses of the new technologies and how these technologies can be used for the benefit of the students, because this is very important for me. We cannot lock ourselves down in our offices and think that our duty is over just by delivering lectures in the classroom. No, we have to be technologically more motivated, and this is the only way we can meet the challenges that COVID or any emergency poses in future. Then we also have problems at the level of students. As said, we need to orient our students to use technology properly, and also we need to give them access to these devices. The digital divide is something that we cannot immediately bridge, and I don't know what policy decisions are needed to bridge that divide, but we somehow need certain policy issues that can bridge that divide and make internet accessible to every household in India. And at least every household should be given one digital device, I guess free of cost, or at least on a very low price. But these are the kind of policy decisions that we don't have any power. We can only suggest things, and I hope, I hope the people at the helm of the affairs particularly take note of these things, and I'm sure that these will this is the kind of future that education is going to take in our country and in Kashmir particularly. And with this, I'd like to end. I thank you again, Dr. Yunus and the team, for organizing this event and for inviting us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal. Thank you very much. I hope our participants and viewers will appreciate what you have been saying. Now we are moving towards the end of this webinar. I would like to inform all our viewers that the organizing team will forward the feedback link. They would fill that, and after that they will get the e-certificates. With the permission of our honorable principal, I would request now my colleague Professor Zohar Ahmad Lon Saab to offer vote of thanks.
Thank you, Yunusab. Good afternoon to all speakers and participants of this session, and a very happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers. I would start with an old saying which says, an optimist sees an opportunity in every calamity, and a pessimist sees calamity in every opportunity. So these are the two sides of the coin in the present situation as far as e-learning is concerned. It is now up to we people, that is the teaching community, to take it as opportunity or calamity, especially in Kashmir Valley, where, as Dr. Javed Sahab also mentioned, other than COVID also, we see frequent shutdowns, and it is a great loss to this education. Now, today we had the first session, which was the inaugural session, and we had our Vardi Commissioner Secretary to Government Higher Education Department, Janab Talat Parvez Sahab, who is a keen, adopter of this IT technology. And then we were joined by Nodal Principal, Kashmir Division, Professor Dr. Yasmin Ashai ji. She also gave very good encouraging remarks regarding the use of technology in education. Now, in the second session, we had three speakers. One, Dr. Afroz Shah Sahab, who is an international participant in this webinar. He's faculty at University of Brunei, and he gave his suggestions and views because he is far away from this Kashmir Valley, but ultimately knowing the pros and cons of e-learning in our scenario, in the scenario of Kashmir. Then we had Dr. Javed Sahab. He's a faculty member at University of Kashmir. And finally, we had Dr. Bilal Sahab, who is faculty in the higher education department itself. We, from the entire staff of Government Degree College, we are very thankful to all the three speakers for sparing their valuable time and giving their important suggestions and views regarding the e-learning. I am thankful to our Professor A.R. Najar Sahab, the host principal, for arranging this type of webinar on a special day for the teaching community, that is on the Teachers' Day. We are also thankful to the IQAC GDC Kulgam for organizing and for their sincere efforts for the successful conduct of this webinar. We are also thankful to all the participants who got connected with us from different parts of the country. We are thankful to all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zuhur Saab. That's it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I thank Dr. Afroz, Dr. Javed, Dr. Bilal, that on a short notes, they all joined us. Thank you all the participants from different parts of India, particularly my friends at Maharashtra, UP. Thank you all. Thank you very much.